Hello, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while. I'm Cassie, if you've not been here before. I really need to make a new podcast intro that's I kind of got rid of the old one but haven't made a new one because mum life. It was quite interesting because I was kind of reflecting a few months ago on how since becoming a mum I found it very hard to step back into the business, doing what I was doing before, holding space the same for my clients as before, because for me, everything shifted. My whole paradigm shifted, as it does when you become a mum. But I didn't really feel the same about astrology anymore. I felt that I had to do something bigger. That's not to say that doing astrology is a waste of time. It just wasn't for me, it's not what I'm really here to do, I don't think, because the way I've always worked is very integrative. I use a mix of all things, so just sticking to astrology was proving kind of narrowing for me. And so, as many of you know, now I am studying homeopathy. I'm basically finished my half my course now. So yeah, I'm taking on clients, and they're mainly practice clients, but it's really fun because all of my one-to-one work I am able to bring in homeopathy, which is literally accelerating the healing process very quickly. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is healing from chronic illness, from chronic mental health issues, because I feel I've never really spoken about it explicitly. I've spoken about my journey, I've spoken about the work I do, but have you ever sat here and kind of said what I feel it really takes to heal fully, and from that place of being healed you can fully change your life. I know that when I began my kind of formal healing journey, so to speak, probably when I was 22, 21, I'd had an eating disorder from the age of 11, and then things just got worse and worse. Had a lot of trauma in my teen years, and then I kind of couldn't get out of that. It was a really difficult time for me growing up, and I developed a lot of chronic health issues. I also had the Gardasil that you have in school in the UK, at least. I don't know about the US. And this made me really, really sick. So there was a lot of issues in my body that were kind of non-diagnosable and just slipped under the radar. But I kind of felt like rubbish every day. My mental health was really, really bad. So I was really unwell, and for me healing was slow, and I believe that true authentic healing generally is slow, unless there's some kind of life event that's very shocking that can kind of twist things around. But generally I believe healing to be a slow-ish process, or at least gentle, and it shouldn't be causing aggravations and for you to be wiped out, contrary to what kind of our society thinks. But I kind of want to talk about today why, not why, but the kind of components to healing fully, and I won't cover all of them. I am limited in my capacity because of where I am. I have only just given birth. I'm only 31. Sorry, I'm moving. I was in a bad place, but then when I moved through huge chunks of my healing journey, I was able to be in a place of real confidence, and my life very much was just manifesting and unfolding before me. But I'll tell you, the minute that issues came back up for me again postpartum, my life felt very jagged and things did not flow, because I had kind of gone back into a space where I was in some old patterns. My eating disorder came back. I was really struggling to eat well, and as a consequence couldn't recover. Things like I didn't put I was comparing myself to like other mom entrepreneurs that I knew that had kind of given birth in the same time frame as me in kind of the health coaching space, and they were like going at the courses, being on the social media. They were very, very present, and I was like comparing myself. And it was only really as I started to work with homeopathy and especially in eating disorders in the end, because I felt like it was important for me to finally address this, because I didn't want it to be something that came back and kind of blindsided me, especially when I was in the position of being someone that had dealt with all these things. And yet when I had my birth and it was a really difficult time for me, I actually fell back on those because, everyone in my life had never seen how sick I was who was around me. So they couldn't see that I was falling into that. I kind of felt helpless to stop it. And I think that's a number of reasons, because I was depleted. I felt unsupported at that time. I felt very alone. And I had gone into like a full-blown trauma response. So it really taught me a lot about how much work I still had to do, because at the time I knew all the things I needed to do to feel well, but I just felt that birth had activated something in me that rendered me to feel unable to take steps, at least for the first few months, until then I really saw that my life was taking kind of an ugly turn again. And that's what led me down the path I was on. But I'll go back to this point. I was kind of comparing myself to other mom entrepreneurs in the space, and I was thinking, why have they got it all together, and me, who has all this knowledge, I haven't got it together? And I kind of slowly realized, like, I know that they have a lot of support from their family. Like, my family is pretty non-existent. I'm not very close with anyone in my family, just because the way we grew up, it was very dysfunctional. My mum's not around, and she was the one person that I needed, so that brought up loads of grief. And I also really, and this is not a judgment on other mums, I was really weird about having Bonnie go to nursery, or like daycare as they call it in the US. To me, that just felt terrifying. She starts nursery, so she's going to go for like 2 days a week as of next week, I think, which, to be honest, I'm really excited about. She's like toddler age now. She's not yet walking. And I realised she's going to be there like 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And I was feeling so bad about her being there. And then I realised, actually, she's going to probably have a whale of a time and get like top level care. We did have an amazing nanny who, it's just so sad that like we're moving to nursery, but it is the right decision for everyone, I think. And she's amazing. I would love to keep her, but really where we are now, like, nursery is working out the better option for like what our needs are. And for me, I'm quite excited to be able to have this space to spend alone time to recover. And as I'm a projector, I will be using that space really for like August to try and just relax, and then start to really put more into the business side of things, come back more to the podcast. So all this last year has taught me the components of healing. Like in the self-help space, everyone's shouting really loudly, and everyone's like, do this extreme trauma thing, do this like inner child course. And like, I was definitely part of this, manifest this, manifest that, more is better. There's like a greed that goes on. And then there's like this other side that's really silent, that kind of doesn't get heard. And that's like, what if you could just be like middle of the road, normal? Like, I mean normal in the sense of word that we're all extraordinary, but we're also, it's fine to be just normal. and it's okay not to be like there's so much noise out there in the healing space that I feel that there's a lot of inauthenticity and false promises and false hope offered to people who have chronic illness, who have like quite deep rooted trauma from the past. And there's a lot of people out there who say, and I believe this, but I don't feel that it's thrown around. Like I feel that the way it's thrown around is sometimes too casually, about like, oh, you can do just this Reiki session and you'll be healed forever. Do energy healing with me and all your problems will disappear. I had a client I was working with. She had worked with me for like a good maybe 6 months. And she had come to a really lovely place, blossoming just gently. And as you all know, like in nature, in winter, there's nothing on the trees. We think nothing's happening. Then spring happens and out comes a bud. So like all of winter, something was happening. We didn't see it. And then suddenly something flowers. And it is like that with personal growth. Sometimes we're going in this big, messy, like we're not feeling that we're getting anywhere. And then the bud pops. And for me, I felt that this client was in a really good place. And I wasn't in the position where I was like, you need to keep having these sessions because you have the tools. You are empowered, you can move on. That's not to say that my door closes, but all of my clients by the end have a big set of tools and they all will go on to do great things. I'm thinking about some of my clients now who are like coaches, and they're spiritual coaches, they're healers, they're doing all these amazing things. And it's not all me, obviously, but it's like I nurtured that space for them. I don't know if this is actually recording into the microphone. Interesting. So, for me, where was I? Oh, train of thought, baby brain. So for me, then this client kind of went on and had like an energy healing session with someone. And then all of a sudden, this energy healer is claiming that she had kind of fixed every single problem this person had. And I was kind of like, how arrogant to assume that one energy healer is responsible for that person to getting where they get. Now, we don't know. People have profound results after one session. That's genuinely true. But if they did not learn to do that themselves, how can they sustain it? Like, it's like that whole give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And I'm a big believer in this. And this is why, like, I've come away a little bit from energy healing. I've come a little bit away from astrology because I feel that they kind of give something. But my role needs to lie in being with along the journey rather than just dipping in and out. Like, that doesn't feel good to me. So, homeopathy came along, and homeopathy is similar to like a coaching session in the sense that it brings in a natural stimulus. It's gentle, and I am very big on gentle, safe, effective, the minimum effective dose, and then the healing happens as a result. And maybe for the person, if say they're having homeopathy for grief, they work through that grief and forgiveness gently, and a week later they're in a really different place. But it wasn't some kind of like bombastic purge where they weren't sleeping and they're like seeing visions or something. And then say that it was for say that they're quite toxic. Like, I'm working with someone at the moment who I'm pretty sure has mold in their home, and I'm not going to be going in with a hard mold detox straight away, mainly because there's mold in the home. But we're gently strengthening the body first. So everything to me to do with healing is gentle. And yes, if you look at nature, it is generally gentle. But we have things like thunderstorms where there's cathartic moments. But generally, aggravation, like people going hard on the detox, doing these big pendulum swings that are completely the opposite, all in the name of healing, generally aren't sustainable. And usually it results in some kind of nervous system collapse. Like, when I was going through eating disorder recovery for the second time postpartum, I knew where I wanted to get to, but it was very much like slowly introducing food, slowly cutting down exercise more and more, because even I knew that would overwhelm my nervous system. I'm not in the game of bombarding the body, because the body is accustomed to whatever we've given it. Your body doesn't function on like what you think and what you say. It functions on what you've done for the last year. And every 3 months, your body starts to accept, okay, this is what we're doing. So your unconscious actions are what informs how the body functions. So you can be, doing affirmations for 3 months before anything changes. You can do eating well for 3 months before anything changes. You can be consistently doing something for 3 months before the body even starts to think about change. It takes like 9 months generally for the body to really accept that. Now, most manifestation gurus and things like that in the self-help world will have you believe something different. I don't know where I sit with that. I don't know. I'm not an expert. But what I have seen in every client is that the promise lies in, because we are material, nature is very material. The ethereal kind of gives the spark, but the material is slow to catch up. So in other words, yes, we can have the energetic influence, but the material still takes longer. And that's a good thing in a way, because some of the things that we think we want 3 months later would probably be wrong for us, like things like manifesting. I'm not a big brilliant, I'm one of these who, often it takes time to manifest things, because there's usually a lot of nudges along the way, or a lot of kind of offerings that maybe aren't exactly in alignment with what you want. But that's probably the best, because a lot of the things we, I think like we would manifest something a year ago and we're like, actually, that's not exactly what I want now. And sometimes things turn out differently and we're thankful that they did. And sometimes not. But the point I'm making is there is an impatience that has been kind of entrenched in the self-help world. Alongside the culture, society at large is all about instant gratification now. And I'm not saying this isn't possible, but I feel that impatience has literally entrenched itself into everything. And if there's anything that kind of motherhood has taught me, and being kind of unable to work, it's definitely patience. So I guess I would kind of want to say to you, if you're trying to heal right now and it's a slow process, keep going. You're doing the right things. It just takes time. And something that can help, if you're on your healing journey and you feel very stuck, there's kind of, we can get stuck, especially I think as we kind of get quite far along in our healing, or we see an improvement, but we're like, is there something wrong with me that I still don't feel great in my mind? You can sit down, and I do this with all of my homeopathy clients, all of my clients. It's called a timeline. And it starts to show where certain things began. So a lot of my problems began with the Gardasil and the death of my mum. And around the age of 11, when I changed schools and I hit puberty, these are all things that help me understand, why I got sick. But they also show us with homeopathy what remedies we might want to give. It shows you what, maybe where you lost a piece of yourself, maybe where you have to work in forgiveness and giving yourself love when you actually created some kind of misunderstanding in the past that needs working through. All of these things, I'm trying to really keep it general and concise, But the timeline is key. So you might want to sit down and write a timeline, which includes physical symptoms, medical interventions, natural interventions, and life events, and mental and emotional symptoms. I do this with all my clients, and we go through it in depth, and it's very eye-opening. And you may have done it, but I think it's always good to keep one and go back, because as you grow and change your healing journey, it becomes much clearer, and things you can't quite understand. It took me a long time to understand specific things. Even after years of self-development, I was like, that is a thing. And I wouldn't have known had I not gone through my timeline and kept going back to it. So you can do the timeline birth and talk about your birth. You can even go pre-pregnancy. What was it like for you in the womb? What was your birth like? What were you feeling when you were birthed? Were you forced out? Did you have a C-section? Was your mum, was she supported in birth? All of these things that were eye-opening for me. And even then, in sessions with clients, we're working through those experiences not before, because it depends, but sometimes before anything else begins. But generally how I like to work, which is different to a lot of other healers like to go straight in at the deep stuff. I have learned that even though I practice root cause medicine and root cause kind of stuff, that actually it's more important to slowly, gently peel away layers like an onion, and that is much more effective, because you have deep things that are held within your unconscious that are not going to be let go of quickly, because that would be very unsafe and quite scary for your body. So I like to work backwards in that way, whereas a lot of other trauma healers just, again, impatience, forcefulness, they just want to get in there. They call it feminine energy, but actually to me it's still forceful, because there's a need to fix. You aren't broken, okay? You are not broken. You do not need fixing. I just want to say that you just need to become aware and to be held in the right space. That is not something that forcing its way in or poking at is going to help. So that's just something I want to say. And if healers kind of talk about that, like we're going to poke right into the trauma, we get to the roots, just be aware, that's still a masculine approach. Do you want to be held in that way? And if you do, fine, whatever. Don't come to me, because I'm very gentle and soft, and I like to hold you, because I think that's what we need, to be held with compassion. And then something else that you might want to look at in your life if you're kind of a bit stuck would be this phrase that I learnt in my Reach training, and it's waste weakens, or waste. So every single time you got sick, every single time you had a physical illness or a mental illness that you maybe took medication for, and let me tell you, medication is life-saving, or had an operation for, you will have to some extent suppressed that, because when you're sick, or mentally, physically, your vital force, this chi in your body, the energy in your body, is expressing something specific. When you take something to push the symptoms away rather than move it through, then you basically push it deeper into the body. And the deeper and deeper we push things, the more complex they get, the more chronic they get. And so eventually you get to a weakened state of health and vitality. And this is why I say waste weakens. All of the toxicity that builds up from suppression, through medications, through other forms of intervention, can have a toxic effect. I know that other people in the medical world will say different, because people function just fine. I know that when I have done cleanses from the pill using homeopathy, that my health has changed dramatically, especially Gardasil. So I do a lot of work with clients on these, because you can change your health profile just from doing those things. So waste does weaken, and look at waste in your body. Is your liver functioning well? Do you poop, a few times a day? Is your diet heavily laden with pesticides? Okay, it's hard to eat organic all the time, but are you trying your best to just eat well? Do you have all the vitamins and minerals you need to detoxify? You don't need to go on a juice fast. The body detoxifies itself. So you don't need to do like pretty, I don't know, Juice Plus or whatever it is. I mean, more the power to you, because I think their pills have like a lot of fruit and veg in, so it's better than nothing, but you don't need it. And this is also something I work with my clients on, these extreme detoxes and let's not eat carbs and let's go vegan. It's like, hang on a minute, like, where are we going into extremes? Okay, I actually generally prefer eating vegan, so I just kind of move more that way, vegan and vegetarian, but yeah, everyone's different, and I do think women need a certain amount of animal protein, most women, but let's not go on that topic. Environment, what's the waste in your environment? Do you live in a damp house? Do you use toxic products all through your house? Do you put perfume on your skin every day that's toxic? This isn't to scare you, by the way. It's just to kind of bring your awareness to the environment and the waste up there. It's always going to be there, so we need to strengthen ourselves so that we can process it better. What about your relationships? Do you have toxic or wasteful relationships where you give more than you receive? I'm sitting here as a projector, and I know that I really only have one friend who I could consider close, and that's really it. And I kind of feel weird about that, but I feel like none of my friends sometimes are even that bothered, because everyone's so busy, and that sounds really bad, but like my one friend is always there, and everyone else has other stuff going on. This isn't to be like shaming them, because my other friends, whenever I try and like reach out, I think this is a projector thing, it never goes well, but if they reach out to me, it always goes well. And I guess like anything other than my immediate circle of friends, if it's a big effort, like some people like you have to work a bit harder with, but it's important because you value them. Like I value every single one of my friends. I understand they're busy. I understand I'm not going to be top of their priority. Like, who am I? I'm not like God. So it's like I want to have them in their life, in my life, in whatever shape I can. And that's where it's okay to give more, I think, but it's when it takes more than it gives. So that's an example. Friendships, family relationships, that's a big one. I think with family relationships, certainly my family's completely dysfunctional. I've worked to repair and heal the relationship with my dad. He will never change in that he's not going to be like more present in my life, but that's very important for me and for him, that there was a relationship of forgiveness. He is my father. Whereas there's other parts of my family where there have been real betrayals, where it's like the things keep happening. It's not something that like it's kind of like there's no like exchange of love there or consideration. There's no effort on their part to kind of move forward. So like, that's where you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on where I am wanted. Maybe this is a projector thing. I don't know. If you're a projector, let me know. But if you've experienced this in relationships where you kind of have to justify yourself or try to make an effort where you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, maybe that's weakening your energy and not bringing to it. So maybe take an inventory of all your relationships, the energy. I have so many friends, like acquaintances, but only one friend that I could say is like very close to me. So, who I speak to most days. And that's fine, but it's just becoming aware of like, okay, how much energy do I have to give out right now? So, and in close family relationships, it's okay to create distance and only pour from an empty cup. And I think this is like a whole podcast episode, so I think I'm not doing it justice, so I'm going to move on. Okay, in your mind, what waste is in the mind? Are your thoughts, I have the busiest mind ever. I'll be doing yoga and I'm just thinking constantly. And this has got a lot worse since birth. I used to be quite placid. My mind now is just intense. I think it's because I have a third house stellium, which is the equivalent to having like 50 planets in Gemini. It's really intense. So there's a lot of busyness in my mind, and Bonnie seems to have inherited that, shock horror. But hey, powerful mind. So yeah, look at your mind. What are the thoughts? We have 60,000 thoughts each day on average. 57,000 of those are already thoughts you had like years and years ago. You only have 3,000 thoughts that you can reprogram. So how are you choosing them? Where else do we see waste? Oh, your environment. If it's very cluttered, that might be something to think of. Plus clutter, if you're not a spider fan, it does harbour spiders. Although this house is not cluttered, the one we moved into, and there's plenty of spiders. So, yeah. I'm going to move on from this point because I feel like it could be a whole podcast episode as well. So when it comes to healing, there is a component that needs to be worked with, which is trauma that's stored in the body. Your body has this membrane that runs through it. It's like a membrane that's of like fibrous kind of tissue. And that stores every single memory you've ever had, and it runs through the whole body. So traumatic birth, it's stored in the body. Injury, it's in the body. Terror, accidents, fear, it's all in the body. Everything is there. The cells remember. The body knows. So this is why when it comes to healing fully, there needs to be an effort to physically work things out. This doesn't mean you need to go to the gym and beast it. Things like yin yoga, craniosacral therapy, just body awareness are enough. But relaxation for me is the number one key. And loads of people don't do this, me included. I don't do it enough. Deep relaxation teaches the body that things are okay. But, a lot of the time it's not done. Like, I don't see it really done much in, the self-help world. I see a lot of like somatic work, and that's really good. But this is not something that can just be done in like one session. It typically takes like 6 to 8 weeks for you just to acclimatize to the language of the body. Just that 6 to 8 weeks. Just to acclimatize. So someone giving you a 3-month package saying it's going to do the deal, I will be skeptical. I would hold on to your money and just be careful there. Trauma is deep, and body work is something that needs to be done repetitively. This is why I always say to my coaching clients and my homeopathy clients, try and book in with a craniosacral therapist where you can. I understand that perhaps finances are not the same as they used to be, but it's a really good investment. If you were to do anything, I would say do body work, personally, because the body is what's telling the truth about your state of being, not the mind. It kind of does, but it's your body, the way it feels, the health of the body, how you move through the world, who you are. It's those things that tell the truth. What you say is really nothing, because everyone sees beyond that. Your energy, your physicality, that kind of tells the truth, I think, about the state of your being. I could be wrong, but it's something that I've observed a lot. Body language, body comfort, it tells everything. And sometimes, I remember I had loads of energy when I was quite sick, but it was like artificial energy because it was fight or flight. And I found that as I healed deeply, I had no energy. So if you have no energy and you've been on a healing journey, I'd say you're in a better position. Because when we get to the state of complete collapse, at least we're in something real. And that kind of means we've got a clean slate, we know where we are. But sometimes the state of collapse comes after you've been going really hard for so long. But yeah, the body knows. So when it comes to holding everything in the body, trying to keep all those deep emotions held in the body for the sake of coping and remediating stress, it's another way that the body suppresses things to protect itself. And when the body is in protection, it's not in growth and expansion. And let's face it, you want to be in growth and expansion. So yeah. Anyway, my battery's running out on my computer and I haven't gone anywhere near where I wanted to go with this, but I can't go and get my charger because the baby's asleep in the lounge and she is like a ticking time bomb today. She's going through a leap and she wakes up and it's a whole deal. And it's tense and she's screaming and tantruming a lot and it's draining me, God. So bless her. So yeah, I would say to you, take or leave anything we had to say. Basically just in a word vomit on you that's maybe useful, maybe isn't. But if you're serious about feeling better, if you want to change your life and manifest different vibration of reality, if you're sick of the job you're in, you're sick of your relationships, you're fed up of the same old stories coming back round, the same drama, the same patterns, then it is time to start to look at yourself. Every single ex of yours may have been the same. There may have been the same issue. Well, what are you looking at within you? Because you're the common denominator in your life, nothing else. Yes, there are certain situations that are very misfortunate, but you're in the driving seat here. You are the major shareholder in your destiny. So what's it going to be? So you get to choose, which is fun, but also it's hard to take personal responsibility. It is a path less travelled. It's much easier to be ignorant. Ignorance is one of the greatest sins, apparently. I don't know. Let's see. But anyway, I really hope that this has been somewhat useful. If you've got to this point, clearly it has. And if you've turned it off, you won't hear me saying this. So, yeah. Please remember that you can reach out to me. My one-to-one coaching container is always here. The way I work is gentle. It's soft. It's not bombastic and loud. It's a real container where you will feel held. You will get a blend of homeopathy, bodywork, coaching, yogic practices. I kind of do the whole shebang because I've done all these different courses and kind of pull them together. So it's hard to say, but I know that if you're feeling the pull, this is your invitation. It's time. Reach out. You can email me hello@cassieaurora.com. I've got like promotions on my coaching packages just for June, so that you've got like a few days left. So reach out to me, and if you've missed it, don't worry, just drop me an email and be like, I didn't hear the podcast. It's fine. I would love to support you. Yeah, we can chat and see how I can help you. Yeah. So take it easy, and I guess we'll speak soon. Thanks for listening, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, because there'll be more podcasts coming soon.